make sure you're talking to the right people about their area of expertise, because
Yes.
it's quite possible that they had a discussion or did an online calculator with their bank and went, okay, well, that's how much we can borrow and let's go forth. We've got this deposit. But it's important to actually talk to the experts about what other costs are going to be involved, what are the process, how long do you need for certain things? Because unless you get that dedicated, experienced expertise in that person's lane, in that person's area of expertise, you might actually be taken down the garden path and be worse off than if you'd
Mm.
gone in there with no knowledge whatsoever. A little bit of knowledge sometimes is more dangerous than none at all. So I think making sure that you're asking the right questions of the right people is absolutely vital, because you don't want to get the wrong information from the wrong person. It puts you in a bad place. Lender's mortgage insurance is something that sometimes people balk at, but I think it's misinformation that probably leads them to balk at it. But it is a potential cost, and this is an important consideration when working out how much to save to buy your property or apartment. If your deposit's less than 20% of the purchase price, you'll probably need to factor lender's mortgage insurance in. But there are some, employment fields and professions that it can be waived, or it can be a lower LVR or higher LVR. So again, important to talk about this upfront in that initial planning, get your support crew together, talk about money, know what your actual costs are, use the spreadsheet to actually work it out. If you're spending 400,000, what are my costs going to be? If it's 450, what are my costs going to be? If it's a new property, what are my costs going to be? If it's an established property, what are my costs going to be? You can spreadsheet all of those things and be really, really confident going forward that you know exactly what you're going to pay with a little bit of buffer for unexpected costs if they come up.
And once again, this is back to getting your support crew, right? I had a client once that one of them was a doctor, and they had a broker that I didn't know, I'd never dealt with before. And then they were getting a bit nervous about how much they had saved. Prices were rising, and they were really worried about paying lender's mortgage insurance, and they didn't want to because they had 20% plus costs. But then as prices were rising, that 20% starts reducing. It's no longer 20% as prices rise. And they're getting really worried about it. I said, well, you're a doctor. Hasn't your broker sort of taught you about the banks that actually will allow doctors to buy with a 10% deposit without having to pay lender's mortgage insurance? And they're like, no. So I said, well, let's go back to your broker and ask, what's the deal? Oh, yeah, says the broker. And I'm like, well, guess what? I definitely will not be recommending that broker. But can you now go and do your job? And this is about, they're lucky they had us to actually go, we know enough about that we know where to go to get the information, and that there should be something that you should know, right? And this is the problem in property. There's a lot of people with opinions. There's a lot of people with a little bit of knowledge that don't stick to their lane. And it's really hard to actually know where to go for the advice.